Hi there. Welcome to 60 Matthews. I'm Matthew, and today I want to talk about my favorite band of all time, The Used. Now, to say that they're my favorite band doesn't quite cut it. I mean, they are, but they've influenced my life more than a regular band ever could. Now, obviously, at face value, they are an incredible band. They cover all genres and all sounds. Each member of the band listens to different styles of music, and so they come up with a wide array of musical styles and genres, and yet they piece it together into this single, cohesive through line of an idea. For instance, this,
Cut yourself in conversation.
and this,
How long was I sleeping? Did you wake me?
and this, and also this.
Do you?
All of that is The Used. Now, they have changed a lot over the years, but it's not like they started out techno, and then they became rock and roll, and then they became rappers, and then they made pop music. It's like everything you can expect from them can be a different experience. However, it's still gonna have this cohesive sound of The Used. It's just a more honest way of making music. They make music that they want to listen to, and it's always based on what they are personally going through in their life. The Used has always been made up of one drummer, one bassist, one singer, and one guitarist. And with each album, they all add their personal flair to their music and to the listening experience. For instance, their first album, there was hardly any frills or extra stuff. It was just guitar and drums and bass and raw emotions coming from the singer, and it was because they didn't have anything else. The music that they wrote it in their bedrooms or at a friend's house with crappy instruments and crappy equipment. And then they blew up and they recorded their second album with a lot more tools at their disposal. So there's a lot of electronic stuff and a lot of extra instruments that went into making the album. On top of the musical experience, it was also a very personal album for the band, particularly for the lead singer, Robert McCracken. He had recently lost his ex-girlfriend, who was one of his best friends, who was pregnant with his child. So it was a very troubling time for him, and you can hear his emotion coming through in that album. They also have an album called Heartwork, where the music industry was kind of forcing them to return to their raw rock roots, and you can tell in the album that it wasn't an easy process for them. Robert McCracken has said that that was the hardest album that they ever had to create. He was going through a lot, the band was going through a lot of stuff, and the relationship between the music industry, the music label, and the band was just really rocky. So much so that things changed for them after that album. I don't really know how the music industry or how the business works, and I don't really know what happened with them, but I know that with their next album, they tried to create their own record label, or at least be less attached to the music industry. Their next album is appropriately titled Vulnerable, because they were feeling pretty vulnerable being out there on their own. And also, this album right here is titled The Canyon, because it's based on the place where one of the lead singer's best friends killed himself. The chorus on the first track of the album states, "Every single song I ever sing is for you." The first half of the album is like what led up to the moment of his suicide, and the last half of the album is kind of how Robert is dealing with all of it. And you can tell the emotion in the music of the album as well, even without the lyrics. So again, at face value, their music is incredible. It's very compelling, it's very emotional, and it's very personal. But my love for them is not just because I love their music. The Used has added value to my life in many different ways. One of those ways being potentially my life itself. Whenever I was growing up, whenever I was a teen, I wasn't very mentally healthy, and on several occasions I was having seriously suicidal thoughts. Now, I never really made any suicidal attempts, and looking at it in hindsight, I don't really know how serious it was. However, I know that at the time I was very serious about not being in this world anymore. And then I found The Used, and they don't shy away from these deep, dark, taboo subjects like suicide and murder or being in an abusive relationship. And that's also kind of who I am as a person. I don't shy away from any topics. I want to talk about anything and everything. You can talk to me about sports, about the weather, about religion, politics, racism, anything. And that's why I gravitated towards The Used. Whenever I found them, I was looking for a band that kind of covered all bases. They screamed sometimes, they sang sometimes, they were really heavy and rocky, but also had some funky beats. And with each listen, you notice something different that you hadn't noticed before. I've been listening to their music consistently for almost 2 decades now, and I'm still finding these like funky bass lines that were underneath everything, or these like delicate little guitar or electronic things hiding in the atmosphere somewhere. And again, that's kind of who I am. To say that The Used is a rock band does sum it up the best, although it doesn't cover nearly all the sounds that they accomplish. They've always considered themselves to be like gross pop, which is a little bit more accurate. It's like these poppy beats, but done with these like distorted, heavy guitars, but they can also accomplish these like pretty dancey beats that sound like they're fresh off the radio. And I connect with that. To say that I'm a writer or a content creator doesn't explain nearly all the stuff that I do. And also, The Used supports the idea of being yourself, of not allowing anyone to tell you who to be, not even them. They are not trying to tell you how to be. They're trying to tell you to think for yourself. As much as I idolize these guys as people I want to be more like, it's not that I want to be a great singer or lyricist like Robert McCracken or an incredible drummer like Dan Whitesides. I want their confidence and their freedom to be themselves and allow themselves to make art that they want to make. Over the years, I've seen plenty of their fans abandon them because, oh, they're different now, or they're not hardcore anymore, or they've changed, or they sold out, or whatever, even though the rest of their fan base is like, hell yes, long live The Used. The Used can make whatever music they want because we know that it's gonna be good. They're not going to sell out. They're not gonna make music because it's easy. They're not gonna make music because it sells better. They're not gonna make music because someone told them to. They're going to be true to themselves in their art. And that's what I want to do. That's how I want to be. I want to make art that pleases both my audience and me. It's a very narrow region within this Venn diagram, but that's where I want to be, and that's where The Used always is. I just appreciate them and their music and their message and their deep influence on me over the majority of my life. But that's all I have for this week. I really hope you fall down the rabbit hole of all of their music, or at least give them a chance and listen to a few songs, whether you've never heard their music before, or if you're one of the many people who think, oh yeah, didn't they sing that one song back in the emo era? They've actually been making a lot of songs since the emo era. This album right here is their 8th studio album. It dropped a couple of weeks ago, and it's amazing. It's incredible. It is their most complex and wide-ranging album to date. It has like the heaviest of sounds, the softest and sweetest of sounds, and like the poppiest and funkiest of sounds. It's just got so much going on, and it's definitely worth a listen. So if you're one of these people that say, well, I like listening to a little bit of everything, give it a shot. You will not be disappointed. But I hope you're doing well despite everything going on in the world. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're staying sane. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.